both been doing this a long time, and there's a lot of topics in sports and pop culture that just aren't worth talking about, so we made up a game called Keep It Moving. It's time for Keep It Moving. So Ryan, if you want to talk about it, you say hit the brakes. If you don't, me, you, and Meth Man just keep it moving. Are you ready?
Yeah, I hadn't seen that before. Cheese.
Well, thank you for watching the program.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I turn it off by then.
Forbes came out with a list of the most richest college football programs. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
I was told in the pre-show meeting that we were cutting this from the show, so I didn't read anything on it. What Texas is worth a lot. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, Texas
keep it
A&M is
moving.
weird.
We keep it moving.
That's the part I love right there.
Joel Embiid signed a deal with Under Armour, reportedly. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes on this. Embiid is probably, as popular as anybody other than LeBron on social media. Mm-hmm. But Under Armour's had this weird run the last couple of years, not to go all stock price on you. And think how lucky they've gotten. They hit on Steph.
Yep.
They've had Brady. Then Cam Newton has an MVP season. Even Jordan Spieth, Bryce Hart. Like, they have a great roster. So it's not just about the roster endorsing your brand. I'd be great. I'd love to see Under Armour have a little comeback from the last couple of years. I just don't know if kids are going to buy the big man shoe, because that's always been the problem.
That's always the thing. And I wore the Steph Currys a couple years ago, and they were excellent. And just from a performance standpoint, the Steph Curry shoes have kind of dipped a little bit, and also in sales. And again, like, why can't big men sell shoes? And if there ever was a big man that could sell shoes, it would be Joel Embiid. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it would be Embiid, unless it were. And you almost have to be this character beyond just a great basketball player, and that's why Shaq kind of had a chance. But, I mean, how many Shaq retro Reeboks are you buying?
Zero.
I'll wait. By the way, wait a minute. You're saying the decline in the Steph shoe dipped off, or the decline in your game?
Well, first of all, my game is peaking right now. I just wanted the world to know that. Moving on from my game to James Harden game, the whole world went crazy over this move from James Harden. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
We have to hit the brakes, because I'm mad about this.
Oh, you're mad about this. So there was this move against the Sharks where he kind of just did a sidestep and hit a three, and everyone in the world said it was a travel, even though it's not a travel, and you're going to tell me that's a travel.
I don't know, man. That looks a lot like a travel.
Oh, well, really? Well, guess who chimed in?
Everyone.
Referees.
Yeah.
The referees chimed in, and they felt the need. The NBA official actually followed this account. This is a legal play. Although James put the ball behind his back, he only takes 2 steps after the gather of the ball, and therefore is not a travel. So now you've got me saying it's not a travel. You've got the NBA official saying it's not a travel. So explain to me how it's a travel.
I don't think it's a gather. Like, I understand the 2 steps off the gather on a drive to the hoop or getting into your shooting position, but I don't know, man. I mean, the problem is that you're telling me it's not a travel from the guy that travels 90% of his possessions.
That's fair.
So,
That's fair. So here's how I judge a travel in basketball. Did it look awkward? That's kind of how it works nowadays. It's like, was it awkward? And if we're going to start nitpicking travels, the one that bothers me is when you catch the ball and then pivot 4 times before you even get into a 3-point stance. That's the one that bothers me more than the step back.
That's the travel that doesn't get called because it doesn't benefit anybody. I'm not Mr. Freak Out about a travel. Like, if you're starting to tweet about, the NBA never calls traveling, again, that means you love sacrifice bunts.
Yes.
You're
Yes,
mad that
seriously.
pitchers don't throw 140 pitches anymore. Like, I'm out. Traveling doesn't bother me. Harden bothers me.
Harden bothers you?
Yeah. He's a great player.
Harden bothers you?
He's a great player, but I've never seen, there's no player of his generation that has benefited more from the way he's officiated than James Harden.
I think that's fair to say, but it's not Harden's fault. He's just really good at making people foul him.
But
he's really good at making people foul him. Like, he's not dominating the game by his pure athleticism. He's kind of outsmart the game. It's not as fun to watch, but you have to respect him for it.
There are more solo Rosillo couch freakouts per Harden possessions than anybody in the league for an entire year.
This is my favorite stat.
Right.
This is my favorite stat. Solo Brasillo couch freakouts.
Per possession.
SRCFs? SRCFs.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
Keep track of SRCFs throughout the season.
That's my coach. That's my guy. He was my coach in Houston's celebrity game. He wasn't a real hands-on coach.
Yeah,
but
more of a laissez-faire, like a Phil Jackson type. I get it.
Yeah, right. He wanted us to figure it out. Me and Bieber.
You and Kevin Hart. Joe Flacco's wife gave him some coaching. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Go ahead.
Keep it moving. We'll keep it moving.
All right. We keep it moving.
To you on that
we keep it moving.
Trae Young did something good in a basketball game. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes. Guy's been beat up on a ton, hits a deep game winner, and you know what? Good for him. He's going to get a ton of shots. I know that. He's going to get a ton of shots, and this is a good one.
He is. Then here's the thing. It's at Georgia Tech, so it's kind of in front of the home crowd, and he's now become a sympathetic figure because everyone is just saying the Atlanta Hawks traded Luka Doncic, essentially, for Trae Young. And you and I did the draft together, and we were both just astonished, disgusted by this move. And now it's just like everyone's just waiting for Trae Young to fail and loving Luka Doncic. And now he's become a sympathetic figure. Like, I am rooting harder for Trae Young's success than Luka Doncic's success just because of the way the world has turned on him. Do you feel the same way?
I'm not going to go that far, but I like where you're going with this because you're right. Like, whenever I'm kind of that guy, you know, after a while, I'd be like, wait a minute, everybody wants this. Well, I'm going to go stand over here. I'm going to want the different thing now. I still think it was a terrible pick because I know the backstory of how this went down and the motivation behind it. And you're right. I mean, Trae is in this spot where it's not just about how good or bad he is as a pro. It's more about what Doncic ends up becoming. So, yeah, I am. I guess I'm saying, like, I'm there with you. I'm not rooting against him or anything like that. Like, we just started the segment saying, like, I'm happy he hit this shot because it's been so negative for him the whole time. It looked bad during the summer league and all that. But I don't know. He's going to get a lot of shots. I'll say that again.
Yes. So, someone went to one of those, like, haunted house scare things, you know, these things in the Halloween season, and he got stabbed for real. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Dude, hit the brakes. Are you kidding me?
Okay. So I believe it was in Nashville. And you know these things, it's like a haunted house and people jump out at you or whatever.
Yeah,
and dude got stabbed for real. For real stabbed.
Do you hear the backstory on this and how this went down? Because I'm like, oh, how does that happen? So you go, well, what are you doing tonight? Be like, oh, I picked up some part-time shifts at the haunted house. Be like, why are you bringing a knife? Be like, well, it is haunted. You know,
yeah, if you bring a knife, you're going to use the knife. These things, I've been to these things before, and I've seen these people break character. You know what I mean? I've seen them break character and yell at someone in my group before, and I was like, wait a second. Now you're not being like the zombie guy who took us hostage. Now you're being like Steve, the failed actor in Los Angeles, taking out your aggression on my friend Jake.
Steve is always doing stuff like that. Yeah, so apparently somebody was like, oh, my friend is coming into the haunted house, and the guy handed the other person a knife and said, oh, you should stab him, and the person stabbed their friend in the arm, and they're okay. And they're like, what? Oh, my God, the knife is real. And the other guy was like, the person who actually did the stabbing didn't know the knife, thought it was a prop knife. I know this will surprise you, but I had a group of friends that maybe...
I am surprised you had a group of friends.
Right. We start there. But somebody got a little rowdy when Steve and his buddies jumped out and got a little too physical and broke out of character. So the guys, after probably a few beers in the woods, went back into the haunted house and started pounding on the zombies. Imagine, why do you have a black eye? Well,
what happened was I was working at this haunted house. I scared a guy who was with Ryan Russillo. Oh, you're the best, Ryan. Up next, Ryan Russillo will stay with us, and we will discuss some extremely important news about an emotional support squirrel.
You got to give the people time. Give people what they want.
Love makes you do crazy things.